Kaylee Cuoco and Sam Claflin star in the MGM Plus original series, Vanished. When the man Alice loves disappears on a train to the south of France, every romantic memory becomes evidence. Every intimate detail, a potential threat. She thought she knew everything about him, but she may not even know his real name. 4-part thriller Vanished premieres February 1st on MGM Plus. Finding the truth is a dangerous affair.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ray Review, back with another dark story. Today, we're diving into the chilling disappearance of Brian Schaeffer. A 27-year-old medical student walked into a crowded bar in the middle of a busy college district and was never seen again. There was no struggle, no witnesses, no body, and no explanation. What's so unsettling about this case is how ordinary the night seemed. Brian Schaeffer vanished in plain sight after a normal night out with friends in Columbus, Ohio. He was a young man with a future, a family, a girlfriend waiting to board a plane with him. This isn't just a missing person case. It's a locked room mystery with security cameras, blind spots, unanswered phone pings, and a trail that goes completely cold within minutes. Was Brian Schaeffer the victim of foul play? Did he suffer a tragic accident that no one ever discovered? Or did he do something that no one wants to consider, that he walked away from his life entirely? By the end of this story, you'll see just how thin the line can be between a normal night out and someone vanishing forever without a trace. This is the story of Brian Schaeffer. Before we start, a quick reminder that I tell a lot of dark stories on this channel, and while they matter, they can be heavy, so please listen and watch with care. But if you like spoken true crime stories, please like this and follow the channel. Not only will you be notified when a new story happens, but it helps the channel so much. And if you'd rather listen, you can always catch Ray Review Dark Stories podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for being here and for supporting these stories. Now, let's dive in. Brian Schaeffer was the kind of person you build a future around. Born in 1979, the oldest son of Randy and Renee Schaeffer, Brian grew up in Pickerington, Ohio. He was brilliant. He was driven and curious. He earned a degree in microbiology from Ohio State University, then went on to medical school there. By 27, he was doing everything right. On paper, his life was perfectly on track. But Brian had another dream, one that he joked about, but never fully let go of. He wanted to start a band. He loved Jimmy Buffett's music, tropical imagery, and the idea of a slow, sun-soaked life far from stress and schedules. Medicine was the plan, but music was the fantasy. In early 2006, his life held both grief and promise. He was dating fellow medical student Alexis Wagoner. They had plans, big ones. A spring break trip to Miami, and friends believed a proposal might be coming soon. Then in March, tragedy struck. Brian's mother, Renee, died from a form of bone marrow cancer, and he was devastated. Those close to him said he was handling it as well as could be expected. But grief doesn't always announce how deeply it's settling in. Sometimes it goes quiet and hides under the surface of someone who looks like they're coping. On Friday, March 31st, 2006, spring break officially starts. Brian planned to celebrate with his younger brother Derek. But when those plans fell through, he arranged instead to go out with his friend Clint Florence. Before meeting Clint, Brian had dinner with his father, Randy. Randy later said that Brian looked exhausted and worn down and couldn't shake the feeling that something about his son felt off. But he didn't stop him from going out. Brian was an adult, and it was supposed to be a normal night out. So here's the breakdown of what we know happened that night. Around 9 p.m., Brian met Clint at the Ugly Tuna Saloona near Ohio State's campus. From there, they bar hopped through the night, typical campus nightlife with drinks, noise, and crowds. Around 1:15 a.m., they returned to the Ugly Tuna with a friend, Meredith Reed. Security cameras caught the three of them riding the escalator back up to the bar. And that is where Brian slowly fades out of the official record. At 1:55 a.m., 40 minutes later, surveillance cameras captured Brian briefly talking to two young women outside the bar's entrance. Then he turned and stepped back toward the doorway of the bar. The bar closed 5 minutes later, at 2 a.m. Clint and Meredith eventually walked out into the crowd, but Brian never followed. They'd assumed he'd gone home on his own. But he didn't. That weekend, their calls went unanswered. His car sat in the usual spot at his apartment complex. His apartment was untouched. There was no sign of struggle, no evidence he packed to go anywhere, and no missing belongings, except for Brian himself. On Monday, he and his girlfriend Alexis were supposed to leave for Miami, but they never did, and he was officially reported missing. Alexis still went to the airport, hoping he'd show up at the gate, but he never arrived. Police focused on the Ugly Tuna, the cameras, the layout, and the exits, and they reviewed hours of footage. But the cameras didn't tell the full story. The bar's main entrance camera had blind spots, and there was another exit, an unmonitored service door that opened into a construction area. It was dark, cluttered with debris and equipment, and had no cameras watching it. So if Brian left that way, no one could have seen him. Searches began around the bar and then expanded outward. Officers and K-9 units checked the bar itself, the construction zone, nearby businesses, surrounding streets, and dumpsters. Flyers went up with his photo. All of these search efforts, and they found nothing. Several people who had seen Brian that night agreed to take polygraph tests. Clint, however, declined and hired a lawyer. The two women Brian spoke to outside the bar were not publicly identified for about 3 years, though investigators had already interviewed them. Months went by with no sign of Brian. And then, in September, his phone suddenly rang. Alexis called his number, as she had so many times before, and usually it went straight to voicemail. But this time, it rang several times before going to voicemail. And for a moment, it felt like hope, like maybe his phone had been turned back on. And after months of nothing, this was a huge lead. A ping hit a tower in Hilliard, about 14 miles away. However, the phone company later said it was likely a system glitch, routing noise in the network rather than real activity. It meant everything and nothing at the same time. So Brian, his phone, and his wallet have never been recovered. So let's go over some of the theories that have emerged about what may have happened to Brian Schaeffer. Some feel almost impossible, others feel disturbingly plausible, but all of them have gaps. Theory 1. Brian never left the bar. This is one of the most unsettling possibilities. That something happened to Brian inside the Ugly Tuna after he was last seen on camera at 1:55 a.m. Supporters of this theory point to the security camera blind spots and the fact that no footage has ever clearly captured him exiting the bar through the main entrance. But there's no physical evidence of a crime inside the bar. There's no blood, no obvious disturbance, and no witnesses have ever come forward with anything concrete. Theory number 2, the service door exit and construction site. One unmonitored service exit led directly into a construction area, dark and cluttered and not meant for customers. If Brian left that way intoxicated, it's possible he could have been injured in a fall or an accident somewhere out of sight. Some people speculate that fear of liability or bad publicity might have led to a cover-up, but there's no confirmed evidence of this, and it would require multiple people to stay silent for nearly 2 decades. Theory 3, the river. Not far from the nightlife area, the Olentangy River winds through Columbus. Some suggest Brian may have wandered off and fallen into the water. Accidental drownings do happen, but searches and the passage of time have turned up no confirmed trace of Brian in the river. Security cameras in nearby businesses also haven't shown him walking away in a clear direction that supports this theory. Theory number 4, a random crime of opportunity. The campus area nightlife district did see its share of robbery and crime at the time. If Brian left through an unmonitored path, it's possible he crossed paths with someone dangerous in a mugging, an assault, or an abduction. But again, there are no witnesses and no forensic trail in the public record and no body. It's a theory that fits the general risk of the area, but not the lack of evidence. Theory number 5, a voluntary disappearance. This may be the most controversial theory, and the hardest for many of the people who loved him to consider. Brian had just lost his mother. He was exhausted and overwhelmed. He carried a dream of an entirely different life, for music, warmth, and the escape from pressure. Some suggest that the combination of grief, burnout, and the longing for a different life could have pushed him to walk away from his life intentionally. But there's no bank activity, no confirmed sightings, no documented attempts to reach out, and those who knew him best insist he would never abandon his family or Alexis. These are the strongest theories that people have been able to come up with, but each of these theories also have holes. Every explanation collapses under close inspection, and that's what makes this case so deeply mysterious and unsettling. In 2008, tragedy struck the Shaffer family again. In a freak accident, Brian's father, Randy, was killed when a tree branch fell and struck him in his yard. In his online obituary, someone left a message signed, "Love, Brian." For a moment, it felt like the case had cracked open. But the message was traced to a public computer in Franklin County and was ultimately ruled a cruel hoax. The only one left in the Schaeffer family is Brian's younger brother, Derek. And he lives with an absence that never ends. He's lost his mother, his father, and his brother, and only 2 of them have graves. Brian Schaeffer didn't vanish in a forest, or on a remote highway, or on the edge of civilization. He vanished in the middle of a crowded city, surrounded by cameras, surrounded by people, with a family who loved him, with a career he'd spent years building, and a future that was already unfolding. And that's part of what makes this case so haunting. He disappeared without a trace, and we may never understand why. Whether Brian was met with foul play, suffered a tragic accident, or chose a path no one expected, his absence has left a permanent wound in the lives of those who loved him. His brother Derek lost his parents and his brother in just a few short years. And the question remains isn't just what happened to Brian, It's how someone can vanish so completely without leaving a single piece of proof behind. This is one of those stories that doesn't give us answers, only echoes. And if you stay up at night thinking about cases with no clear villain, no clear ending, and no closure at all, this is one of those stories that will never let you go. And that is the story of Brian Schaeffer. Thank you for listening and sitting with this story. If you found this valuable, please give this story a like and follow along if you want to hear more dark, complicated human stories like this one. I'm Ray Review, and I'll see you in the next dark story.